Chess is thought to be more than 1400 years old, and I gotta say, back then the game looked pretty realistic. But in recent years, the graphics have become worse for some reason. That's why in this video I'll be making chess realistic again, using the latest RTX ray tracing graphics. So let's get into it. First I had to make the board and the pieces, so I jumped into Blender and started modeling the chessboard. I didn't want to settle with the boring board like this or this. I wanted to make something epic. That's why I spent 4 hours extruding, insetting and beveling geometry. The custom bevel profiles are a great way to quickly add detail to sharp edges. I did that until I ended up with this absolute unit of a chessboard. Okay, maybe I made it a little too epic. Alright, now the chess pieces. First I made the pawn. I was actually pretty happy with how it turned out, but then I realized I'd also have to model the knight. And because I didn't have 2 months for the project, I went with the more efficient way.
Yo, KV, what's up?
Yo, what's up? How are your chess pieces doing?
Oh, I'm already done modeling. Let me show you.
Alright. That's crazy. How did you get it this fast?
I don't know, man. It took me like 5 minutes or something. It's pretty basic stuff, you know?
Next I had to assign the materials. I didn't want the board to be made from a single material, so I split up the mesh into different texture sets. And after 2 hours of UV unwrapping, I could finally export everything into Substance Painter. For those of you who don't know yet, Substance is like Photoshop, but in 3D, which literally makes it the perfect software, almost as perfect as Blender. Anyways, in Painter I applied a few different stone and concrete materials and made them look weathered using generators and masks. For the accent material I used gold and also made it a little dirty. I put black and white concrete materials onto the squares on the board. Don't worry, I'll make the checker pattern when I'm back in Blender. It was just easier to texture them this way. Oh, and I gave the squares golden and silver frames. For the black pieces I made this cast iron material, which I gotta say looked really nice. I painted the cross on the king golden and gave the queen some golden accents as well. I found this red stitched fabric material and I had to use it on the royal pieces. For the white pieces I tried an aluminum material, but then I replaced it with a marble material because it looked way better. Back in Blender I fixed the pattern on the board and put all the pieces into place. I'm pretty proud of myself that I didn't even have to look up the layout of the board to put the pieces into their places. Oh, and I made the eyes of the knight glow. Now we need some beautiful lighting. I added a light above the board, but then all the detailing on the sides became completely invisible. That's why I added a glowing material to some parts of the structure, which actually looked pretty cool. I also blocked out the inside of the board so that I could raise up the pieces in animation, kind of like the elevators in the Hunger Games arena. Oh, and I made the fabric on the white pieces blue, to add some more contrast between the two parties. Now the only thing there was left to do was animating the pieces and the camera. But before doing that, I actually wanted to play a game of chess. The scene runs really well in the real-time rendering engine Eevee, so I played a little game against my dad. Well, and I lost, but this is not epic enough yet. To create the most insane chess animation ever, I had to recreate the most legendary game in chess history. Wait, how did I get here? Oh, that's right, it's the sponsor segment. I see what you're doing. Don't even think of skipping this part, because today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. Every day people ask me how I learned making 3D art and animation, and many of them are surprised when I tell them that I'm completely self-taught using tutorials and online courses. Well, and that's where Skillshare comes into play. Skillshare is an online learning community that lets you level up your creative skills. There are tens of thousands of classes on painting, photography, editing, and most importantly 3D graphics. There are even more than 500 courses just on Blender. That's more than you could ever watch. One series of Skillshare courses that I personally really enjoyed were taught by Kaiwan Shaban. In one of his courses he really goes into detail on how you can achieve cinematic lighting in Blender, which was super interesting and helpful to watch, and it even helped me make better art. But even if you're a beginner and have never touched a 3D software, Skillshare's got you covered. My fellow Blender content creator Southern Shotty has created a number of incredible Skillshare courses, from your first steps in Blender to the basics about modeling, texturing and animation. So join Skillshare and start learning today. On the first 1000 people to click the link in the description will get 1 month for free. That sounds like a great deal if you ask me. Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. To create the most insane chess animation ever, I had to recreate the most legendary game in chess history. You guessed it, I'm obviously talking about Schlatt versus Alexandra Botez. While it's not the longest game, it definitely shows the incredible skill of Schlatt. Well, not really. He got checkmated in 2 moves. I animated the moves of the game in Blender, which didn't take that long, but I spent like 8 hours doing the camera animation. I think the number of constraints on the camera shows how long it took. The last thing I did was making the king explode when he gets taken by the queen. For the explosion, I downloaded this Embergen preset from the internet. Well, and that's basically it. After 23 hours of rendering, this is what I had. If you enjoy the animation, definitely subscribe to the channel and join the Patreon. Enjoy!